what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another segment of Chasing the Tide, your saltwater connection on the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Nichols, back with you for another killer show. It's been a little break there. I don't know if all the listeners noticed. I kind of dropped back off a little bit. I'm just doing one segment a month now. Things have gotten pretty tight with my work schedule this year, so y'all just bear with me. We'll still keep pumping this show out, but it'll just be coming at you once a month. So until things line back out, maybe we'll just have to keep it that way for right now. But hey, at least we're still there. So, bringing you the info, all that tide chasing lingo and all this saltwater stuff, So we're stoked to be around. So I was just going to give a quick little update of the past few weeks, or the past 4 weeks, I guess it's been since the show's been out. Hot, that's the word of the day. Brutal, that's another word that goes along with it. It's been hot and brutal. It's windy. We've had some breaks here and there, a couple mornings and everything, but the fish are still eating. Before first light, been some hot and heavy action. Chasing some redfish, working in the birds and shorelines and different things, and then got on us a few decent trout bites recently in some deep structure, downsizing my plastics, using one of the new skinny water lures baits, the skinny tricks. Be on the lookout for that. That thing's going to be a killer. Finally getting the prototypes lined out on that, and got some killer action, and definitely looking forward to having the full line of colors in my arsenal, because man, they've definitely been killer. So yeah, we just appreciate you, all the listeners out there that come in and listen and watch this podcast. So thank you to everybody. We're going to get along with the show. We got a killer guest tonight, another fellow podcast host, Matt Parrish. We're going to bring him in. He hosts the Empty Stringers podcast. What's going on,
Hey,
man?
how's it going?
Oh, it's going, dude. Rushing in from work, trying to get this done. Got a little last minute, back to school kind of barbecue for the teachers. My wife's like, "Oh yeah, we got to go to KB's barbecue and 7." And I was like, "Okay, I got a podcast I planned out a while back, so we're gonna have to make it work." So hey, yeah, man, what's going on? You doing
Man,
good?
I know how that goes. My wife, I call my wife my domestic coordinator,
Oh yeah,
because she keeps the family calendar, and she pretty much just says, "Hey, we have to be here at this time," and I just you know
yeah.
straggle along behind her.
Mine's always is like, well, that wasn't on my calendar. Or I said I might have forgot about that tournament next weekend. And it's
Yeah,
like, dang, I'm in the hot water. Help. It's one of those things. But no, what we like to do on the show, just introduce yourself, give everybody a little backstory about how you got into fishing and all that good stuff, and then we'll get into the podcast, why you started that, as well as we move along.
yeah, man. So I started as a bass fisherman. I've been chasing bass since I was a kid. Um, and a lot of freshwater stuff. My dad was a big crappie fisherman. He loved to do the cane pole, minnow, with the cork. Grew up doing all of that. I got serious about chasing bass, and was fishing out of a kayak for a long time.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy of mine, Chris Colin, who kept telling me, come saltwater fishing with me in the kayak, man. Like, come on. And I kept inviting him bass fishing. He invited me saltwater fishing. And finally, I just like, all right, fine, I'll go.
Yeah.
And once I did that, I thought, okay, like I like the differences here. There's a lot more species of fish you can catch. And so I just kept going. There was a lot more area to explore too. That was one of the things
Yes.
that really got me, is like, man, the marshes are huge. You can get out and really explore things. And then the more I saltwater fished, the more I got into the redfish, and then I eventually just kind of became specialized in redfish. That's my that's kind of what I do. That's my day to day. I'm on a poling platform in a foot of water,
Yeah.
and I'm pushing for redfish most of the time.
It's pretty dang killer to be able to have the fishery and amount of waters we can do that in here.
Oh, it's
You
it's
know.
acres and acres and acres of
Yes. Yes.
marshland that you could spend 5 years in East Bay or West Bay
Yeah.
and still not
Exactly.
cover every inch of it.
And then with those technical poling skiffs, just like a kayak, you're getting other places that those bigger tower boats and stuff can't. That's,
Exactly.
which is
And I make
a
it a
big
point.
plus. We're gonna talk about that too a
Yeah, I
little
make it a
bit.
point to get back where I can't be bothered. You
Right,
know.
for sure. Yeah, because then you don't have to worry about people, running between you and the shoreline and burning the half mile of bank past you looking for fish when that's the way you were poling and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it goes on a lot. Believe me. Yeah, you can
you got
believe
that
that.
right.
So yeah, man, I'm pretty much the same way. I started out, bass fishing as a kid and everything with my dad and my uncles, my granddad, and just kind of flew from there. I'm originally from Southeast Georgia, so I grew up fishing those big tide swings over there.
I was going to
You
ask
know,
where you originally were from because I could kind of tell that
the
you have a little bit of that
little bit
Georgia
of a
flair in your
little
accent.
little little twang there. And but yeah, that's kind of where the name came from. Not many people know that. I don't think I've really put it out there, but yeah, that was. I always fished those big tide swings in Georgia. I kind of wanted to keep something about the tide, and there was a couple other names came to mind. I was like, chasing the tide. That's got a little ring to it, so we're gonna do that. So
Yeah.
that's basically how the name came up. So here, excuse me one second. I gotta take a little cough. I've had I don't know, a little funk or something, little respiratory kind of drainage just kind of affecting my throat. So
I hate
yeah,
to say the C word, but that COVID's making its round again.
I don't know. I feel fine. I mean, I'm still bouncing off the wall like normal, but
Yeah.
but maybe it's a different version of it. But yeah, there's some medication I take that kind of gives me a little weird, tickle in the back of my throat too. That kind of will do it as well. But this is some drainage. I have really
Yeah.
bad allergies, just like my daughter. So
Yeah, man,
when
that
you're outside a
Viagra will do
lot,
that, man. You got to watch out. That Viagra will tickle the back of the throat there. You got to.
oh no,
I'm just
dang!
kidding.
I don't need none of that yet. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Oh man, where it's going tonight? Oh goodness. So yeah. So empty stringers. That's your podcast.
Yes,
So
sir.
how'd that come about? Let's get to the roots of that.
Um, let me see if I can condense that
Yeah,
story
just
just a
the
bit.
the Cliff Notes version there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew that like I own a small business in the medical
Yeah.
industry. I was an electrician for years, and when I got into doing my own thing in the medical industry, I started thinking about, all right, well, like when this is over, or when I transition again into the next thing, eventually, who knows, 10 years from now, whatever.
Yeah.
I think I want to be a guide. I think I want to be a fishing guide, and so I went ahead and got my guide license and all that, and I wanted to curate. Um, I wanted to curate a group of people that understood what I did and wanted to do the same thing, and that we would have some kind of camaraderie, and the guys that don't get out but once or twice a month, they could listen to my podcast and know what the redfish were doing, where they were eating, how they were behaving, give them a chance to feel like they were out there
Yeah.
when they were stuck at work.
Yeah.
And so I started that to both give that weekly fishing report and try to build a community, so that when I started guiding, which I started doing a lot sooner than I thought I
Yeah.
would, but the I wanted to have that base of people there that would want to book a trip, but also, like, I didn't want to do the live bait, like bring the family out. I wanted a certain type of client, and I didn't want to settle for anything outside of that. So I thought, well, the
For sure.
podcast is a good way to curate that
Yeah.
community.
Oh dang straight, man. The side casters and the belly crawler chasers and the
Yeah, man. The
what's the
people.
the oh man, I'm trying to think of all this. I was kind of going to go into the spiel of the fireworks stand segment from the Joe Dirt movie about the whistling bungholes and the
Oh yeah,
onion meanies and the Husker do's and Husker don'ts and all that. Yeah, I was
yeah.
gonna do that. Oh man, that's what kind of week it's been too. My brain is scrambled. Yeah,
You've been working long hours, huh?
it's not long hours. It's just staring at freaking P&IDs all day and having an engineer on the other side of you that's like la di da di da. And when
So
you're
what's
trying
your
to,
trade? What's your trade? Like, what's your
I'm a
craft?
process operator at a petrochemical plant, and we've been
Okay.
going over process hazard analysis for the ethylene dichloride unit, which has a Stouffer reactor that uses um, ferric chloride tubes, iron, basically as a reactant, help accelerate the reaction. And you inject chlorine gas and ethylene gas in the liquid EDC, and you have the reaction to make more EDC. And you distill it, and it's used in all kinds of stuff, and paints, derivatives, and different things. And
Yeah, and
it's a
so
pretty
you're
dangerous process. So we're going through and revalidating all of our
you're
hazard
making sure it
analysis
stays in the
studies,
pipe, right?
making sure it stays in the pipe. Yeah,
Yep.
and it's pretty fun sometimes. Yeah, it can be fun. But yeah, man, I'm ready to go back on shift work because I'm working Monday through Thursday, which I'm missing those midweek days when there's less pressure on the water. We'll probably get into some of that here in a minute.
That's the thing, dude. I don't. I try not to get out on a weekend,
Nope.
man.
Only a
It's
tournament, and I'll fish a tournament, and I'm gonna find somewhere I can get away from people.
Yeah. I mean, it's just there's
Majority of
just
the
so
time.
many people out, and there's also so many people that don't know the etiquette of the
Yes.
marsh, and
Right.
like it's gotten so bad to where I just assume a guy's camped out in the middle of a cut.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna get mad when I blow by him, so I've just avoided it at all costs. I'll go the long way around, or I'll
Mm-hmm.
putt through, or something. It's just you can't avoid it on the weekends, man.
Right. And it is tough with the population and with the popularity
Yeah,
of fishing and the outdoors just in general. Um, you're looking at a lot more pressure on our fisheries and coastal waters.
yeah. Not everybody takes as good a care of it
Yes.
as some of us that are
More
more
more more
conservation
conservation
minded.
minded. Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. Great. The guys from Kelly Wigglers started that little initiative they have. Dave Fladd's been a podcast guest, and he started Release Over 20.
yep,
Definitely been a big proponent of that. And then we have our the mid coast and south has the our trout bag limits about to expire on the sunset clause from when we had the reductions after the freeze,
yep.
and we're going to see that as well expire. And I was really hoping that they'd keep it another year or so,
Is that
or
still
or
open
change it
for the?
just a little bit.
Are they still talking about maybe keeping it or modifying it, or is it
There are
definitely going
still
away?
some talks. I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if it was a sunset clause if you could hold back off of it.
you
It has
can't.
to.
You
Yeah, it
can't.
has to expire.
It
Yeah.
has to expire, but you can
Or you
put.
can put another one into effect the day after it expires or
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly.
Right, right. Which
Yeah,
I'm okay with it. I'm fine. I normally do not keep trout. I'll keep
yeah,
I'll keep a few here and there. I mean, if you gut hook one or something by accident, they just hammer that soft plastic or something, got some gill penetration or something, then yeah, I'll
yeah,
keep a few redfish. I mean, every now and then you catch a couple mangrove snapper in some areas that with structure, and we'll throw them in there as well.
yep,
You can. There's other fish to target. I really like sheephead.
yeah.
I will eat those. Man, that's some pretty meat on those things. I'll eat
Uh,
those all day.
That's a great eating fish, and flounder is my favorite. I
And they're
mean, if
fun
I,
to catch on them little crab imitation, the little crusty crabs,
yep,
or just a little shrimp imitation. Sometimes on the over the top of shell, you'll see. I got 3-4 pound sheephead I can sight cast to, and they're fun on a 1000 series reel and little medium light rod, and it's pretty dang fun, man. It's a good time on them. But yeah, I know you brought it up as well, and it is on my list of what we're going to talk about pressure and about tower boats, burning shorelines, looking for fish, ruining grass and habitats. And I was just kind of, there's been some, the common courtesy's kind of gone away.
Yeah,
I
it's
wrote about that. I had an article come out today in Saltwater Angler, and I kind of touched on that a little bit. You know, it's just like I kind of like I always like to hear other people's opinions. So I was going to ask you about what you see, because you're up on the upper coast a little. I'm a little further south than you, and I was going to see what the trends are up there as well.
yeah. I mean, there's a problem with more horsepower than there is restraint, right? So
Yeah,
that you got guys that have the machines that'll go burning through a foot deep back lake. And look, there's areas of the marsh where you can't avoid that. If you're traveling through,
right.
you just run on through and you do what you got to do. But it's the ones that drive me nuts are the ones that go, burning 10, 15 feet off of the shoreline, and they cover 5 miles of shoreline in the
The
back
whole
of,
lake.
yeah, they're going from one end to the other of greens,
And they
oil
just
field or
ruined it
yeah, and it's
when they
like,
could have
man,
ran out 200 yards and ran the same way and done the same, and then got through the same place.
yeah, and there, I don't even think that's that effective. I don't think it's as effective of a method of finding fish as they think it is. You know,
No.
some guys have dialed it in and they've gotten really good at it, but I know guys that take their giant horse-powered tower boat out.
Mm-hmm.
They'll run it up in the marsh, up on their tower until they see the fish, and they'll just sit it down and wait on those fish to calm back down. To each his own, right? Do what
Right.
do what works for you. But my thing is like,
Dude, it breaks the schools up even further and really pushes them away. I don't. It,
there's a
kind of
special
that way.
thing too, like that. My thing is like those redfish behaving in that manner, schooling up, chasing those shrimp. That's a special thing,
Yes.
and you kind of have to like creep your way in,
Mm-hmm.
be a part of that for a minute, creep
Yep.
your way out, and let it
And,
continue to do
and
what it
then pick
does.
a fish off the end or the side a little bit. Don't rip them out in the middle. Don't rip them off the front. They run back through, blow out the whole school. There's so many things, and then over the years you kind of see their tendencies,
Yep.
and you kind of, it is a learning process at first. I mean, you got people that probably just don't know as well.
Yeah,
You
and,
know,
and you got to get out there and do it and learn. But I mean, that's why I think it's so important to have guys that are willing to mentor you. Or if you're gonna go, if you're new and you're buying a boat and you're gonna go explore a bay, go book a guided trip.
book a guide, get
And
electronics, bring your fish finder or something, and have him run some spots for you, run some
yep,
tracks, and I just, oh man, some of the worst days I've ever had on the water was down in Baffin in the kayak, and the fog sets in,
yeah,
and you hearing the freaking 350 400s just zooming through the stuff, running on marks, running on paths.
yep,
It's like, dude, I can't go anywhere.
yeah.
Even though I got my lights and everything and they're visible, but I really don't have the ability to really zoom out of the way fast. It only goes about 6.5 miles an hour with the motor I have on it.
Yeah, and people
So,
don't realize how dense that fog gets. I mean,
yes, it gets gnarly down there. And it's like, man, I'm not, no, thank you.
I was out in the marsh one day. I think it was like a December day, and it was oddly warm, and we had crazy fog. And I was in this back lake, and I thought I was all by myself, and then I heard a couple of guys talking to each other, and there was another boat within casting distance of
Oh,
me.
wow.
Neither one of us knew each other were there, and that's how crazy it can get.
Yeah, it gets bad. I only fish areas I'm very familiar with if it is foggy to begin with. But that day it just happened to settle in at that time, and luckily it burned off about 1:30.
Yeah,
Got to where I could see, and I went back and fished a different set of rocks a little closer, and it was cold. I mean, it was cold, but it set in. It was like 35 degrees that morning, and I like it when it's like that over there.
man,
Throw
I am.
them glide baits over there and get them to chomp it.
I fish. I still fish when it's that cold, but I don't like it. You know, I don't like the cold
because it keeps a lot of people off the water, especially when it's drizzling rain and you got to put the rain gear on.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my big trout weather right there.
Yeah, that's true. That is.
I've had some special days on days like that, very special days where it's just like, did I really just catch that many trout that big?
Yeah. Yeah, that does fire up the big girls.
It does, man. It does. It just they hit different. They different breed down there, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never been down that way.
This past weekend though, I had some pretty dang thick fish, man, for up in this area. I was pretty surprised to see some of the quality of fish I had this weekend. I just wish I could have, stuck what I had the day before, the day I really needed.
Well, that's the whole thing.
I had one solid one. I just needed the other two to be up to par.
I always tell folks, like, I am great at catching tournament fish, just not on tournament day.
Not on tournament day. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. I mean, always go to weigh-in. I mean, I pulled off a win 2 weekends ago with a 4.29 pound redfish.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We did the same thing. Me and my son were in the GRS. We did the youth division, and we brought in 2 dead redfish back in like 2 events ago.
And lost a pound and still won.
Lost a pound and still won first place.
And then he caught one fish that, like, he's podiumed every one so far, hasn't he?
Yeah, so far.
Division. Yeah, he's kicking butt, man.
Yeah, he's got the bug, man. He really loves it, and he's starting to really understand it,
Yeah, for sure, man. So you do any fly fishing, or you just conventional?
I have gotten off into the fly world, and I'm still very new at it, and I still suck very much at it, but I'm learning, and I'm at that point where I'm like, all right, I feel pretty confident that I can go find redfish, and it seems like the next challenge is getting them to eat the fly, right? And so I've got a long way to go when it comes to fly fishing. I'm still very much a novice,
Same.
But
I mean, I got a 5, an 8, and a 10 weight that I just happened to acquire for trading some surfboards.
Yeah,
like years ago. And a couple of them real nice setups. I mean, and I got a couple boxes of flies, and I've taken the popper out there, caught some bluegill and some bass here and there, but I haven't taken it out for redfish yet. But I definitely little small shrimp imitation, little crab, little something like that. I think I could get into it. I just got to learn all the knots and what I need to use for the line and all that good stuff.
It's a different world, man.
A little bit different. A little bit different thing to crawl into than just throwing a dang crazy Alberto knot between some 20-pound braid and 20-pound fluoro and just calling it good, with a jig head.
Yeah, it's a different expectation too. Like those guys have it's like, oh, we got a shot at 5 fish. Like didn't catch any, but we got a shot at 5, like day made. And I'm like, that takes a little adjustment for me.
Man, I had a shot at like 40 and I caught like 15.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's kind of where my head still is. I'm learning to just, we were out this morning, me and a buddy of mine, and we chased 5 or 6 schools, hooked up on the fly with 4 fish and lost them all before we got in the boat. But it was a great morning. We saw a ton of tails, saw a ton of fish. It was a lot of fun. But I think I'm trying to mature in the way that I'm like, all right, I'm enjoying being out there. I'm enjoying seeing the schools and watching the natural, behavior of the redfish unfold, and catching them is still fun, and I still love to do it. But part of the reason why I got into guiding was I enjoy watching other people catch fish just as much as I enjoy catching them. So
on your podcast, you give out some reports and everything. Are you giving locations or just general info?
Just general info, because I have a firm belief that, like, it's a little different when it comes to trout, but like when it comes to redfish, which that's what the podcast is about, that's kind of what I'm after. I just don't believe that there are spots. Mm-hmm. Like I just don't think that that's a real thing. They roam so much, and I may find a school of redfish in a back lake, and they may pop off at 8:30 a.m. and they may do that for 2 weeks, And if I want, I can go hammer that school for 2 weeks. I don't like to do that because I think that messes up their pattern. But then that school's going to move, and where they go, who knows, right? I mean, it's
right.
So what I'm trying to do is teach people, when you show up to an area, what should you be looking for right now? Because next week it may be different. The week after may be different. What tides are best at certain times of year? What bottom structure and bait to look for? I think if you can help someone put the puzzle together, then they're never going to be. Then who cares what the spot is?
You don't have to depend on spots. Time on the water. That's one thing I always preach, is that time on the water trumps all of that. Yep. YouTube spot burners, salt strong, and all that. Time on the water trumps all of that any given time. In like right now, dude, there's a ton of shrimp over my way, and it's like, you win an event, you get a polygraph, and kept asking me about the natural bait, and I'd kind of giggle a little bit, and after it, we were talking about the natural bait, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I was like, when I left the launch that morning, I didn't have no shrimp with me, I'll tell you that. But when I got back, I had enough to make a po' boy.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, the shrimp are everywhere right now, and it's got me a little worried for the fall, because it's the middle of July. It's the end of July.
It's
like
kind of early.
Well, it never stopped where I'm.
Yeah.
It just kind of carried all the way through. We had a hatch in late March, and then we've had consistent hatches all the way through to probably, I think the last hatch in my area was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
we've got some still pinky size, and then we got some that are like freaking giants out
there. Yeah, they're getting dinner table.
I could make a po' boy out of what was in the back of my kayak, for real.
Yeah, so I'm kind of worried about, like, last year it wasn't like that. Last year all the shrimp were gone mid to late June, and we had about a month and a half of dead time, and then the fall kicked off. This year I chased 6 or 7 schools of redfish this morning. All of them were on shrimp. And I'm wondering, like, does that mean the fall hatch is going to be delayed? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It makes you wonder. Yeah, it makes you wonder on it. That's why I was wanting to get in that as well. That was pretty.
But I think I don't know if they're different kind of shrimp or not, because these shrimp tend to hunker down in the mud.
Yes.
And when you find the schools, they won't necessarily be pushing up against the grass as often as they do in the fall.
Right.
And you don't see snowy
tides haven't pulled out anyways.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of low tide over here the past, 2-3 weeks.
That's true.
In the mornings, yeah.
In the fall, you're going to have higher water levels, and so they get up in the grass more. But
they're cruising, and the birds are playing hopscotch and acting friendly when they're usually mad at each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now, I mean, we're seeing seagulls over schools, and most of them are off the shore.
Yes.
So I don't know, man. It's going to change. I just don't know when. I look for it to change probably late August. I think that's when we're going to have it kick off.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, somewhere around then. I've been on like fish over, a little bit deeper shell pads that are off, 20 yards off the bank or so.
Yeah.
Little different. There's still fish along the shoreline, but there are a lot of them little dinkers, a lot of them little smaller, lower slot or rats.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's still fun out there. You just got to beat the heat. Talk about that, stay hydrated and all that good stuff, and sun protection and this and that. That's about all you can do this time of year. Dog days,
Yeah, and the redfish are pretty much, it's not always, but it's like this morning, the game was over by 10:30.
10:30, they were done. Yeah.
They were done. And so you just got to realize you got to get in there and make the most of it with what little time you have. So that's another reason I'm looking forward to the fall, is you can fish all day in the fall.
Right, right. Yeah, you can usually pick them off here and there. And then if there's a couple stragglers broke off, you usually find them by a single bird or something, follow them around. And pick them up pretty quick. Cool deal, man. Well, I got something I usually do called Pick 3. I don't know how many rods you usually bring with you, so we're just going to wing this one. But, yeah, if you got 3 setups you would have on your boat when you're out chasing schooling redfish, what are they going to be setup-wise, spinning, bait cast, line, and the lures you will have tied on?
Gotcha. Okay, so I carry, if most of the time I'm fishing conventional, and I carry 3 rods. I have they're all uh, just completely lost the not Waterloo, but the anyway, they're Lew's reels, Lew's custom lights.
Lose custom lights, yeah.
Yep, and I've got the lattice stick and the weight or two rod, and then I've got the Trident, I believe, is the other one that they make.
Is that Castaway?
No,
No.
for some reason I cannot think of the
H&H?
No.
I'm thinking, what's the other ones? The guy that does the GRS, are they his? Are they those? Sarge, or is it
Randy?
Oh, I can't even. Oh man, I'm lost too.
It's like a very common name. I can't think of it. I don't know why.
Fish sticks?
No.
Oh, that's Hunter.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm lost. Like it's like
it's gonna come to me.
We need the thing Jeopardy music playing. I wish I had a little video that had the sound effects on it, because I would play that right now. Dude.
Yeah, I can't believe that I just blanked on it like that, but I'm gonna
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
I'm doing a little Google search.
I'm gonna smack myself upside the
head. Laguna.
Duh.
Wow.
Oh,
it's been a long day.
Some good stuff too. Yeah, it's a long day.
Yeah, I go for ultralight, so I'm throwing Laguna rods, those 3 different types, the Trident, the Lattice, and the weight or two, and I'm putting the ultralight Lew's custom light reel. I'm running 20 to 30 pound braid. I go straight braid to the lure. I am most of the time, because I go for redfish. That's all I'm chasing. Right. I'm throwing some type of soft plastic. Right. It'll range from your regular sized knock and tail soft plastic to my go-to, honestly, is always a smaller bait. I'll use a DSL burner shad. Uh-huh. Anything that sparkles, I'm down for. If it's like dirty water, I'm doing a dark color with a sparkle. Mm-hmm. If it's light, I'm doing. They make a supernatural, is what it's called.
Supernatural's good in clear water. It's a little green.
Yep. Love it. Yep. If I'm in clear water, I'm throwing that. Jig heads, I won't use a jig head without a screw lock top. Exactly. It's kind of my thing, and I'll vary. The 3/16 is my jam, so I'll usually tie all 3 setups the same. And I'll put different sizes and colors on each one, and then that's kind of the way I roll. I used to throw top waters a lot.
Yeah.
But here's my thing: you can catch a lot of fish on top water.
Right.
But I have had more redfish miss my top water or bat it
shallower water.
Yep, and they bat it up in the air with their tail.
Yep.
And so I got to where I just quit throwing it.
Yeah. I have a really good, strong relationship with the smaller wake baits.
Yep.
And I'm really confident in them, and I figured out certain things with them. I'm not sharing, but they're deadly in certain ways, and then they're deadly for covering a lot of water when you're pre-fishing flats somewhere, and you take the hooks off to find the fish and what they're doing, if they're around the potholes, outside the potholes, if it's on the grass edges and whatnot. It's a pretty good tool to have. There's certain ones I use, and everybody, if they look at my Instagram enough, you probably know which ones they are. So, I like those a lot. The skinny water lures. It used to be it's part of Grande Bass was the original. They still make all the bass lures, and then it was Grande Salt when they first launched it, but now it's transitioned over to skinny water lures.
Oh, okay.
Their shrimp imitation's got a double kick tail, double paddle tail, and it's got little legs and antennas, and I do really well with those. And then the new, talking about that in the intro, the Skinny Tricks is coming out. It's a new 3 1/4 inch soft plastic.
There you go.
Grinder tail is what it's called. It's got such a cool little vibration and shape to it, and it's more of a bait. We have a big kicker, which is a traditional like fat shad paddle tail that you get a big swagger and body movement from, but then the the skinny tricks is the one with the you can dust it on the bottom over the shell, and the trout have really been keying on it, but the redfish like it too. And
Yeah.
So it's been a cool seeing that come to light and all the colors we got kind of coming out with it. So that should be coming out next month, hitting the stores here around the area, and hopefully Waterloo, Roy's, and some other stuff over there.
Yeah, I need to.
As well.
I need to give that a try.
I'm gonna give you some stuff. I'm gonna give you some of the shrimp. Throw them on a little 1/8 ounce screw lock or 3/16 screw lock, and just pop them in front of them. You know, when they're coming at you, I do pretty well with them.
Yeah, I've been looking for something like that to throw at the crawlers. You know, because they're so hard to catch.
Yep.
That sounds like that would be a good option.
There's a marsh juice color is the one. It's kind of like a grape back with like black and silver flake in it, and then the bottom's like a salt and pepper shad.
Oh, I love it.
They've been killing that one in the marsh. When you just pitch it right in front of them and then just twitch it a couple times right when they're coming at you.
Yeah,
They've been tearing that one up pretty good. Yeah.
That's money.
Yeah, but trout, man, that's probably favorite fish of mine at Target. So you get the trout fever in the winter, or you just kind of hold off of them and you just kind of go chase some redfish, move deep a little bit, or wait for the warm sunny days to go when they move up.
You know, my relationship with trout is so I pretend some of it's an act. On my podcast, I kind of pretend like they're like I can't stand a trout, slimy trout. I don't want to catch it right. It's kind of a little shtick I do.
Yeah,
that's just funny. Trout have saved my day a lot of times, like because sometimes I can't find a redfish to save my life, and I'll catch a few trout, and it'll save the skunk. And shoot, if I see some birds working in a lake, and I can tell that they're on trout, some days it's real hard to say no to that, and you just go hammer a bunch.
And they'll move in that marsh too at times.
Oh, big time, yeah.
They're out in the marsh in the fall chasing redfish.
I've caught, in fact, my 8-year-old son was on the boat with me. We had a school of redfish in front of us. He threw at the school, missed behind him, and caught a trout right behind him.
Around, yeah. I caught like some 26 and 27, some bigger trout along the back of schools.
And Scott Noah's always told me that that's a bit that they're bigger trout back there, and this one wasn't that big, but I could see that being the case. I mean, it makes a ton of sense.
Oh, Scott, yeah, he's a sharp one too, man. He's got a lot of information.
He's the OG, man. He's the GOAT.
He's OG in the kayak too.
Yeah, for sure.
He was around it way longer before I came into it.
Yeah,
time OG, man. All right, I'm gonna throw one up while we do a quick five. All right. Whataburger or Sonic?
Sonic.
Oh, dang.
Yep.
Cowboys or Texans?
Texans.
What else we got? Let me see. Hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger.
Dang, I'm getting stumped. What else was I? Oh, redfish or trout? We know that one. Redfish.
That's gonna be the redfish all day long, man.
Or Astros or Rangers?
Oh, the Stros, baby.
Stros all the way. Yes.
Yeah, man.
That's another one we do. And normally I have it written out, but I didn't have it written out that time, so I slacked on that one. So we just threw it off the hip. Yep.
Got to do that sometime.
Got to do it. Hey, podcast. Not everything's scripted. I mean, there's a little bit of. I usually write like a little outline out and kind of go by it. I mean, it just makes it flow better sometimes because, you get older, you can get stumped. I get stumped on words sometimes. My brain runs a million miles an hour thinking about fishing, family, work, family, everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't remember the name of the rod I threw.
Right,
so.
We were both like stumped on that one for sure.
Podcast gold moment right there.
Yeah, yeah, man. Man, I wish we had a lot longer to go. We're definitely gonna have a second segment of this because we can dive deeper into some of these topics.
Yeah, I need to have you on over to the Empty Stringers podcast.
For sure, and I dig the name myself, the Empty Stringers, because if we got to have something to give, have our kids and their kids be able to have, and you can just, over the years you can tell what helps and what hurts, and the redfish, they took a beating after the freeze when with the trout just weren't in some spots they were supposed to be for a while.
Yeah, the redfish took a beating, and my whole thing is, look, like, it's very rare that people are loading their boat with fish because they're hungry or because they need groceries. Now, I keep fish once in a while, and everyone just needs to do it with a little bit of judgment. It's the
Yes.
ego thing that I want to squash, right? It's like
Yeah.
the people that feel like they need that picture to make themselves feel like a big time fisherman or whatever. Like, take the picture of the fish, put it back in the water. Like,
Yep.
if you're not going to eat it tonight or this week or
Don't freeze it.
yeah, man, like
Yeah,
just
I can't do that.
you got to eat it fresh. Respect the resource.
Now, running offshore, catching some snapper, keeping a couple bags of them for a month or so later, I can get down with that because that's a limited time frame on that one.
A lot less
And it's
traffic.
not like
out
I'm
there,
not going to fill. I mean, it's you can only keep 4 per person state waters to the state. It ain't like you're filling it up anyways. You get a couple 15-pounders though, you're good. You're good for a while.
you got a lot of fish to eat, and it's not even safe. It's not even safe to eat that much fish. If you look at the Texas Parks and Wildlife,
Right.
I covered this on my podcast a while back. Like it's not even safe to eat fish that often that we're getting out of our bays, and even some of the stuff offshore because of pollution or mercury levels or dioxins or whatever. So it's just I feel like it's more like, look at me, I know how to catch fish.
And
And
I'm guilty of it when back in the day, them stringer shots. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of going to the surf and all of we all caught 10 trout where I'm holding up like 6 stringers of 60 fish, just like, look at me. And
We're
I'm
all
of
guilty,
it
dude.
back in the day, man.
We're all guilty.
sure.
I think we've all done it, and
Yeah.
we're learning as we go, and we're
Evolve,
realizing the
evolution.
impact it's made on the ecosystem, and we're trying to do better.
Right. Oh, no, for sure, man. For sure. If y'all had noticed, well, if you're not watching, it's not, but I threw the banners up there. Go follow Matt along on IG at empty_stringers, and then the podcast Empty Stringers on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Y'all can find him there, and look for his segments on there as well. Get some killer reports from the mid upper coast.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate you having me on, Dustin.
Yeah,
I'm gonna return the favor, get you over on mine, and we'll
Sure
chat it
thing,
up.
man. It's always good to spread the love, and spread the. When you talk about a passion, you're excited about it. I mean, I can talk about fishing. I can just go on and on and on.
Oh yeah.
And then my wife, she can't stand it when I start rambling, or when I get excited about something and I start telling her about it. She's like, I don't have anything. I don't know what you're talking about. What you talking about? I said, all these years, and you still know, some of it. I do. She says, I do. Mhm. Yeah, it's just there's certain things out there on the water that are just too special, and I don't want to lose them.
Yeah, it's
Those
like you
redfish
said.
and those back lakes is one of them.
It's the shared experience. Like that's what I meant earlier about like, hey, like I love to bring someone out there and go look
Check
at
this
that.
out. Yes.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah. Or they're right beside you, and you're like just sitting there, and all of a sudden, hey, there's a redfish like swimming right by me. Watch this, and I just moved my rod and dropped my lure right in front of, bam, right there, and they're like,
Yep.
what was that? Especially people from like that's never caught a redfish before and never been around it, and they're in a kayak and they're that close to the action.
It's a whole different world, man.
Oh yeah, it's insane. And it's, oh man, I could go on and on about it. It's pretty dang killer. But yeah, all right. I hate that we're gonna have to cut it short a little bit. We got a little bit of a little teacher's party for my wife's school to go to, so I wanted to get in a quick episode. And look at that, it's about 45 minutes worth, and that's
You hit the nail on the head, my man.
About what I had to run my mouth a little bit longer, and we'll see. But just hang tight real quick. We're gonna roll the outro. Y'all don't forget to support the companies that support us: Wallow Rods, Dubro Fishing, and then follow along Paddle and Fin. Go check them out. We're on all the podcast platforms through Waypoint TV. So yeah, check them out on the app. We got all our shows up on there. Plenty of stuff for everyone. So check that out. And we're gonna roll this beautiful bean footage right here. Hang tight, man. I'll get back with you after we wrap it up.
All right, brother. Thank you.
10-4. Appreciate having you on, man. You got anybody you want to thank or anything like that before I roll this?
I want to thank you, man, for working a busy
Appreciate
day
you.
and having me on the podcast and doing the thing. I mean, it's it's awesome. I appreciate just being able to come on and discuss things that we're passionate about, and
Right.
and
Fishing
let's do it
community,
again.
there's some good stuff in the fishing community, friends, camaraderie, and all that. And that's what I like to see. So, yeah.
Yep.
Hang tight, and we'll catch you next time.
You got it, man.